Hare Krishna, and thank you for joining us for this special session as part of the parallel programs during the UN Commission on the Status of Women. I'm Shama Mohini Devidasi with the Vaishnavi Ministry North America, and today I'm delighted to welcome a truly inspiring devotee, Her Grace Champaka Lata Devidasi. Champaka Lata Devidasi is from Hyderabad, India. She was raised by her parents in a simple, traditional environment that emphasized education, enriching their strong value system. Champakalata Devidasi is a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Raghavat Swami Maharaj. She holds a postgraduate degree in computer science and has worked as business consultant for a few project management training institutes. For over 12 years, Champakalata Devidasi has played an essential role in serving the visually impaired, inspiring many to embrace bhakti and sincerely pursue the path of devotion with dedication. Most of her vision-deprived students are accomplished individuals who are employed in banks and high courts as officers and lawyers. Realizing the need of bhakti shastras among the visually impaired, Champakalata Devidasi took up the service of making Srila Prabhupada's books, such as Bhagavad Gita as it is, available in Braille. She has also transcribed other books into Braille, including Vaishnava's Songbook, Pastimes of Jagannath and Dasavatar, Gopala, the Protector of Cows, Light of the Bhagavata. Champakalata Devidasi draws inspiration from the selfless service attitude of Srila Prabhupada's disciples and her mother, Brajmovi Devidasi, who departed 6 months ago. In addition to her Braille Seva, she also conducts online sessions for women and young girls, striving to spread Krishna consciousness far and wide. Her husband, a retired Air Force officer, is highly supportive of all her endeavors, and so are her two sons, Vishwak and Advait, and daughter-in-law, Shivani. It's a great honor to have you with us today as part of this special session. Your journey and service are truly inspiring. To begin, can you tell us about this amazing service you are leading and creating a comprehensive English Braille edition of Bhagavad Gita as it is?
Before answering your first question, Mataji, I'm very grateful to you and the Vaishnavi Ministry for bestowing this opportunity on me to speak about the empowerment of special souls. Very grateful for having me on this platform that is meant to encourage, inspire, and empower women. Lord enumerates beautiful qualities of women in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And he says, Kirti, Shri, Vak, Smriti, Medha, Dhriti, Shama. And I'm sure all the women in VMNA possess these qualities. Hence, you have a collaboration with United Nations Commission for Status for Women. So that's a great thing, Mataji. And I'm really very fortunate and honored to be having this interview with you. Thank you so much. And to answer your first question, Mataji, in the year 2012, I got the great opportunity to train the visually impaired souls in Hyderabad. And there has never been a dull moment in life ever since then. And during my journey with them, I understood their needs and started working on acquiring them one by one. And when I was teaching them the shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita, they were unable to memorize them at times. So when I asked them, do you have any Braille Bhagavad Gita in the library? They said, yes, we do have one, but that is in Telugu. That is a local language. And that doesn't contain the shlokas. And I was like very shocked and surprised at the same time. And then I went into the library to check, and they just had one compact one, and only translations were there in Telugu. So then I inquired from other places that, there are other, languages, Braille Bhagavad Gita in other languages, but those are also only translations, not the purports, and shlokas were not there. That is when, I found out that all over the world, Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada has not been done in Braille at all. And I took it upon myself, and by the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, and also after taking permission from my spiritual master, I went on to do it. And the entire Bhagavad Gita, this one is the largest edition, which has got 1,740 Braille pages. And this has got the Sanskrit shloka in English Braille, and also the word to word meaning, translation, and purport, just like we have in our Bhagavad Gita. And just imagine, when we feel like reading the Bhagavad Gita, we just pick it up from our shelf or go to the library and read it. But in their case, there was a void, absolutely nothing for them. And this was done with the help of 16 ladies in my congregation who helped me, supported me. And there are two boys, Ishwarapuri Das and Shrikant, who did the complete proofreading of this book. So I'm very grateful to all of them, Mataji.
That's truly incredible. So I'm guessing that's what inspired you to dedicate yourself in serving visually impaired individuals, and particularly children, through Krishna consciousness. Can you elaborate a little bit more in children in particular?
Sure, Mataji. There is an aphorism in Rig Veda which says Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai, which means for the welfare of others and for the happiness of others. So our whole Krishna consciousness movement is all about that. So it's about propagating love and doing service to everybody with Krishna in the center. And anything less than that is a disservice to the society and disservice to the Lord also. And service and empathy came very naturally to my parents, His Grace Anandamaya Prabhu and Her Grace Vrajabhumi Devi Dasi. My mother recently passed away. She left her body 6 months ago. And she was such a gentle and loving person who always inspired me and my siblings by her exemplary conduct to bequeath love to one and all. And I'm grateful to the Lord for such wonderful parents, for family, friends, devotees, for such wonderful spiritual master and spiritual teachers. And they are my true inspiration, Mataji. And as a gratitude to the Lord for giving me so much around me, I thought of dedicating my life in service to these special souls, and also to the youth and women in our city. So, in fact, there is so much more to do, and I hope and pray that Lord gives me the strength and wisdom to be an instrument of love in the lives of these special souls, Mataji.
Uh, that's that's truly so inspiring, very inspiring. And yes, we hope, we pray that you get all support that is needed. Since you primarily work with children, um, what are the techniques that you employ to transform their hearts and help them develop Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, they are in actually a depleted state of emotion. Usually, they're very depressed and anxious because of their situation. So, my job as an educator is to offer power and positivity. And initially, it is all about positivity. So, from negativity to positivity and then to power. This is my goal. And usually, what happens is they hear from a lot of people about losing their vision is due to their karma from the past lives. And that leaves a very deep impression in their hearts, and which makes them feel like, oh, karma cannot be escaped because these are universal laws of nature created by God. So, Lord must be very, not very merciful. He seems to be a punisher. He's not a redeemer. So, these kind of thoughts come to them, and due to this reason, they develop a lot of fear, bitterness, depression, anxiety, and also hatred towards Lord. And this is also in psychology parlance, it is known as attentional bias, which means you hear something and that gets lodged in your mind for a long time, but without knowing the whole story. You just know a part of it and you lodge it in your mind. So my responsibility as an educator was to first make friends with them, giving lots of love, lots of prasadam, lots of goodies, and whatever they require physically, and seeing to it that emotionally they get attached in the sense so that they reveal their hearts. So once they're friends, the first question that they ask me is, why me? And this is the time when they are all ears. They just want to hear from you what you're going to say and what are the references from the Shastra which talk about karma. But I take a other tour and I try to tell them that it is not because of karma. There is something else which you need to empower or nourish. And there is a reference of Avanti Brahmana saying in the Srimad Bhagavatam, नायं जनो मे सुख दुःख हेतुर् न देवतात्मा गृहकर्म कालाः मनः परं कारणमामनन्ते संसार चक्रं परिवर्तयेद्यत्. So the Avanti Brahmana says, these people around me, they are not the cause for my happiness and distress. Neither are the demigods, my own body, the planets, my past work, or time. Rather, it is my mind alone which causes this happiness and distress and also perpetuates this samsara. This is what he says. That means he pinpoints to the mind and he says, it's not about all these things which people talk about, your planets are not okay, your karma is not all right and things like that. No, it is all about the mind. And then suddenly the focus shifts to from guilt to a solution mode. Till then they were in that guilty phase. Now they want to understand what is this mind all about. So let me find out. And then the feeling of power comes into their heart. And then when they ask, okay, how to deal with our minds, okay, that is the next question, and they want to know how it can be empowered. So that is when I tell them that chanting of the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is very important. And I also tell them the difference between this mantra and other mantras in the Shastra, and what are the benefits and demerits of other mantras. And the other thing that I talk about is hearing, Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtananto Hridayantasto Hi Abhadrani Vidunoti Suhratsatam. That means whenever you hear Krishna Katha, your heart is cleansed of all the malinas and then you feel happy. So, and then Prasad Sevan, this is another thing. And I also teach them the shlokas, and they go into a learning mode. So every week, I go to school once or twice, and then when I go the next time, I tell them, ki, let us recite all the shlokas that we have learned from the last week. So they try to memorize the shlokas, they chant during my absence in the entire week. And, they're contemplating on all such things over the week. But again, there are some children who really feel depressed and, who continuously ask the same thing. But still, I'm not convinced, Mataji. There must be something else. I think we are still suffering. So, what about that suffering? Right? So, I tell them, say, supposing you fall into a ditch and somebody comes and says, come, let me pull you out. Will you say, no, no, I will not come out till the time I get to know how I fell here or who pushed me in? Will you say that? So then they say, no, no, we'll come out first. So similarly, my Guru Maharaj has sent me to the school to help you, to, give my hand to you, to support you. So I'm here to first pull you out of there, and then we can speak on the reasons and why, what, when, where, how. So then they feel a little happy. And also, I tell them another example which I heard from the Vartaman Acharyas about the um, malaria mosquito. Say, supposing a malaria mosquito stings you and you're afflicted by malaria. So, what do you do? Do you say that no, I'm afflicted by malaria? I need to find out who that mosquito is. Till the time I don't take revenge on him, I'm not going to, give up on this. And will you not take treatment? They say, no, 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 we'll take the treatment first. So, similarly, first you start chanting the Maha Mantra, and everything else will fall into place, because when you acquire that spiritual maturity, you will know what is what. And then another thing that I have seen in mentally depressed or emotionally deprived souls is that when we have gratitude for what we acquired and what we have, we are actually happy souls. So, because as it is said, gratitude is the mother of all qualities. And then I tell them, see, gratitude towards your parents, friends, teachers, and for all the resources that we have. And we also have a spiritual master. And I tell them how many of them in the world have spiritual master, because it is said, Brahmanda Bharite, Kaun Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasadi, Paya Bhakti Lata Bija, which means you are transmigrating into so many species, and finally you get one human birth, and then you have a spiritual master. So, and then I also tell them how Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Yatati Siddhe Yatatamapi Siddhanam Kaschin Veti Mam Tattvataha, which means this human form of life is actually very rare, and thousands of people are actually aiming at perfection. One becomes perfect, but among those who have perfected, hardly one knows me. Krishna says this. So there are a lot of karma yogis, jnana yogis, ashtanga yogis, but ultimately bhakti yoga is, the topmost process, and we are there. So you're very fortunate ki even in your school, though I come to teach you all, among 250 children, only 80 of you are attending the session, which means even in your own school, you are most privileged, you are most fortunate. So they start feeling happy from negative to, the 0 0 axis, and from 0 0 they start moving to the positive axis. So every time I go, I see some change in them, and it's really amazing. The entire journey seems like an adventure to me, Mataji.
It's amazing. I'm just listening to you and I can just imagine, the children. And I'm so glad that you point this very uh, issue of children's feeling embedded guilt because karma, something that I didn't know. Yes, when you are trying to be helping, particularly children who do not understand anything about karma, and that doesn't mean that their situations cannot change and be better. You are investing in these children, you are investing yourself, you're investing time, you are caring, um, your empathy. It's just amazing. Um, it's uh, um, it's fulfilling, and I think those experiences must be so fulfilling. Um, uh, can you? Well, these are also some memorable moments, right, that you have experienced during this journey of working with the students, and love and trust. You are actually gaining their trust, and but see how they go, very carefully because they've been hurt, and so they have to go very very easily, very carefully, sorry, in this approach. But the more you invest in them, the more you care for them, the more open they are, and the more um, they are gaining that faith. They're awakening that faith. So what you are doing is empowering them, because you are truly empowering them, and that's such an important service. Um, and although this is a beautiful way to share Krishna consciousness, um, uh, and the experience must be fulfilling. Of course, this is a monumental achievement, right? And such achievements comes many times with challenges. Um, what has been the biggest obstacle or obstacles you faced in bringing this project to completion or continuing with this project?
Yeah, actually, after I heard from my Maharaj that I have the permission to do the Braille Bhagavad Gita, I had to approach the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust for copyright. But then when I wrote mails to them, there was no response basically because they had not known me. Because each day, so many people write mails to BBT for something or the other. So till the time I didn't go through a proper source, I didn't get a response. And after I got a response in the year, I think end of 2019, I got the response. And in 2020, the COVID, you know, uh, uh, period started. So I had actually been in touch with His Grace Bhima Prabhuji, who is the head of BBT. He's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And he gave me the permission finally when he saw one of my mails, which, for about 7 to 8 years, I kept writing to them till I wrote through some, senior devotee. I didn't get any response. And then he gave me the permission to compile it. But the second challenge was these braille printers are not like our inkjet printers, not the black and white wala printers. So they have those needles which are installed, and then when they pressure on the paper, they read it from the other side, which is embossed. So these printers are very expensive and they are available only in homes for the blind because they are used for printing their textbooks and their paper is very expensive. So, and we cannot go to anyone else for printing because these printers are expensive and the outside people will not have the braille printers at all. And only when the school printer is available, we can get the books printed. So this was the second challenge. And during COVID, all the schools had closed, so there was no chance. And another major um, challenge or obstacle that we faced is most of the not most, all the shlokas are in Balaram font. That means they use diacritics in our English Sanskrit shlokas. So, but there are no diacritics in Braille, so there's no such equivalent. So we had to long spell all the shlokas, and then that formatting had happened, and that took a very long time. And then when the schools opened after COVID pandemic, we compiled the whole thing that was formatted. And it took more than 7 years from the time of conception in my mind to final execution. And another thing is like to bring awareness to the visually challenged people all over the world. Today, there are more than 37 million visually impaired souls all across the globe. And most of them are, fully blind. They do not even have the light perception. And there are, section of people who are, blind, deaf, and dumb, and for them, other than Braille books, there is no other way. So maybe with this interview, I'm hoping that the awareness of this book will reach at least a few souls in the USA. And because the books are already available in ISKCON Silicon Valley. So one can approach and then take from there.
Inspiring. I mean, talk about determination. And your determination is truly, truly commendable. And on a personal level, you've had your own journey of grief and loss. How did those experiences deepen your connection with Bhagavad Gita and Krishna consciousness, and of course kept you in this path?
Yeah. Yeah, in the year 1999, as most of the people may be knowing, there was a war between India and Pakistan. And because my husband happened to be an officer in the Indian Air Force and he was also a part of the air crew, he used to go from our station where we resided to the Kargil and Dras sector where the war was going on. So, for days together, they were not, getting enough sleep. They were just, fighting the war. And daily, so many body bags were coming to our station. And more than 1,000 people, soldiers and officers perished in that war. So that was like very heartbreaking. And just before the war, also, from our station, one aircraft had crashed. That was a transport aircraft in which 30 armed, personnel had perished. So I had seen widows and orphans all around my home. And just after that, also, this war brought about so much of death and peril, and so much of tension among the families. So that is when I used to turn to the Bhagavad Gita, which was kept lying in my shelf for a very long time. And whenever when I opened it for the first time, I saw the shloka Jatasi dhruvam mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya ja tasmada pariharyati natvam shochitam arhasi. And that is when I felt that Lord is reciprocating with me. The moment I opened, He's answering. He's saying that, there is death and there is also birth. Alternately, it keeps happening. But don't be afraid of your, duty. Continue to do your duty, Arjuna. So in place of Arjuna, you put your own name, and Lord is talking to you. And that is when I thought there is so much more to know. And I kept reading the Bhagavad Gita even after the war was over. And one most prominent thing that struck my mind was one should have a spiritual master to guide you. And tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshante te jnanam jnanena sattvadarshina. These words actually touched my heart, and especially the purports of Srila Prabhupada, where he says that this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is very important and one has to chant. So I was not formally initiated. I had not known that we have to chant on the beats, but whenever I remembered, I used to keep chanting just like that continuously. So that is how my grief took me to Bhagavad Gita, and then subsequently to my guru also, Mataji.
So that's powerful. And at what point did you feel that simply reading Bhagavad Gita was not enough, and you wanted to actively engage in devotional service, and because you had to, with your realization and now coming in touch with your spiritual master and balancing spiritual commitments with family responsibilities also could be challenging, especially as you mentioned with your husband's military service. So how do you manage that balance and actively engage in devotional service?
Yeah. And just after the war was over, I had conceived for the second time. I had my second son, Advait. And that is when, during the time of my delivery, I just prayed to the Supreme Lord. I was chanting continuously, and I prayed to Him, ki, let this be my last birth. I know that is too much of high hopes, but that's how I prayed. And then immediately we were posted to Hyderabad, and I met some devotees in the ISKCON Secunderabad temple who started guiding me, and they connected me to my spiritual master. And my spiritual master gave me the initiation in the year 2006. And ever since then, I kept chanting for a long time, almost about 5 to 6 years, because I had a home based job. I was working as a business consultant to PMI USA, and that kept me busy, both with children and the job. But I only used to chant and partake prasadam and take care of the children and family. That is it. I was not doing any seva. So, but then I felt a lot of void, or something is missing, kind of. So that's when I wrote to my spiritual master, and he said, Champaka Lata, I think you should start some seva. So if you start some service, you will feel really fulfilled and happy. And why don't you do something small? Because your husband is usually away, and you are staying with your children in Hyderabad. Probably that will help you. So that is when I turned to active devotional service, Mataji. Um, yeah.
It's inspiring. You're such a source of inspiration, and you realize that it's actually this Krishna consciousness is not about oneself, but on how we actually serve others, right?
Yeah,
And
because Chanakya Pandit actually says one thing. He says Acharya Padam Adate, which means we learn this knowledge from the Guru. 25% of it is learned from the Guru. And Swamedhaya, 25% is learned from your own, swadhyaya or learning or whatever, from your own intelligence, I mean to say. And Brahmachari Chapadam, which means you learn from other sources like your peers and friends and spiritual teachers. like that. And the last 25%, it is said that you learn kalakramena, which means only when you do service, it gives you realizations.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in giving that we receive. As the great
Yeah.
saint has said, it's in giving that we receive. And
Yes.
sometimes that void that you were experiencing is because you
Yeah.
had to do something for others. And that talks a lot about the kind of um, empathy that you have for others. And sometimes we tend to confuse empathy and sympathy, and they're
Mm.
totally
Mm.
different. And so
Absolutely.
the more empathy, the more love, the more care that we show to others, the more we serve, is the more fulfilling it gets.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing journey, and a wonderful perspective as well. Um, for those who are inspired by your work, how can they help support this caring initiative?
We must actually spread the word about Braille Bhagavad Gita to all the homes and schools for the blind all over the world, Mataji, because there is so much of devotional potential in everybody, and it is not yet tapped. um, so many souls are actually eagerly waiting for this knowledge and wisdom. So more and more devotees, especially women, probably they must reach out with their love and support and empathy, and that will certainly please Srila Prabhupada and the Supreme Lord as well. Because there's a saying, just now you had mentioned, that we earn a living by what we get, but we earn a life by what we give. So purpose gives direction, and it can also build deep spiritual connections.
Well, we're certainly very happy with your service. His instruction was distribute books, right? And now you
Yes.
are actually going beyond that instruction. You are actually doing that for people who are visually impaired. You're connecting them to Krishna, and that's an amazing service.
And
As
regarding
we,
book distribution, I'm reminded of something. I would like to share it with you.
okay, please.
One point of time, I was so inspired by Srila Prabhupada's words about book distribution. So I went to a vegetable and fruit market with my haversack full of books, and then I tried to distribute books. Not a single book got sold, and but one of my neighbors in my apartment, he saw me, and he came and told my husband, "Hey, what is this? Your wife is selling books on the roads. What's wrong with you? Do you need money? Are you an impoverished state or something like that?" So that is when my husband really gave me an ultimatum and said, "You're not going to do this anymore." And then on that day, even though I was little, depressed, I thought, okay, maybe Krishna has some other plan for me. And sure enough, a very magnanimous plan.
Totally. He had much bigger plans. You will be distributing bigger books and to very special to very special children, to very special people. Um, because although they may not have they may be um impaired, their vision might be impaired, but their their commitment to bhakti, their connection can be even much better than those who can actually see their innocence. Um, they're actually in a way protected that are not seeing all the negative things that we are seeing.
Mm, yeah,
We need
true.
to sometimes cover our eyes, not to see something. And um, they're actually seeing using the right way.
Yeah, hearing.
So they are listening, and they are actually just in their minds they are understanding through better channels,
Yeah,
and maybe more deeply than we are. They
they're
are
making the best
receiving that
use
in a
of.
probably better connection, filter out.
Absolutely.
So it's amazing. As we come now to the end of our session, um, do you have any closing words for our audience?
Certainly, Mataji. Sadhana, Swadhyay, and Satsang, they actually bring us to Seva, and Seva gives us realizations. So, when we invest our energy in touching the hearts and lives of others to transform them, Guru Parampara and Lord Krishna empower us by their glance and propel our bhakti. So, if they are pleased, our hearts are filled with ultimate bliss for sure. And Krishna Prema is the ultimate goal, Mataji, and everything else is a detail. So, we have a part in Krishna's design, certainly, and Lord gives us the credit for sweet nothings, while the real glory actually belongs to the divine couple, Srimati Radharani and Krishna. And I would also like to, express my gratitude to my family, my Prabhu, because he used to be posted away from home. But I had the concurrence of my sons Vishwak and Advait to give away their time to these children. And so, in one sense, my children are silent contributors in this service. And to take care of my sons, my parents had given away their time. My brother, Dr. Venugopal, my sister-in-law, Harita, my niece Anaga, they all fully cooperated, Mataji. And my Prabhu gave his time, his energy, his money to fulfill the needs of these vision deprived souls. And all I did was to try and follow the instructions of my spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj. So the desperation and distress of the children also acted as an impetus, I should say, for my decision to continue to help them and be an instrument in the Lord's hands, Mataji. And there are a few memorable moments actually with the children. Because after I made the Braille Bhagavad Gita, one boy, used to read the Gita daily, and he gave me a call on Monday and said, Mataji, when I'm touching the embossed side, the words of Krishna, it feels as if I'm touching the lotus feet of Krishna. And that brought tears to me. You feel so happy and fulfilled, because ultimately, if it is helping somebody, because that's how, ultimately it has to be used by somebody. So I was very happy about it. And there's another very memorable moment with one of the children. This, I'm sure, will touch everyone's hearts. I have shared it with many people. Most of my friends know it. One time I was actually describing about the Paramatma in the heart to the children. Like, he holds the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma in his four hands. And then one boy got up and asked me, his name is Shubham. He asked me, Mataji, what is this Padma? So I said, Padma is a lotus. So lotuses are of all colors, like white, pink, and different colors. And there are some lotuses which have fewer petals, and there is a lotus which has 1,000 petals also. There's a mention in Mahabharata about it. And then he sat down. After some time, he got up again and he asked me the same question. Ki Mataji, can you tell me a little more about the lotus? And then I started telling that lotus is the national flower of India. And there is also a book called Black Lotus, which was written by, which is an autobiography of a Swamiji. Like that, I started telling him. And then he used to sit down, and by the time I continue with the story, he would get up again and ask me the same question. Mataji, can you tell me a little more about the lotus? So I told him that, Lord Brahma comes from the, lotus flower, and all those details I gave about Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. And I also quoted about a shloka from the Bhagavad Gita, Padma Patram Ivambasa, because a lotus doesn't get dirty, it stays fresh, because it doesn't take any dirt on itself. And finally, I thought I'm giving him basic details. Probably I should give him the highest detail, which is like, Goloka is in the shape of a lotus. It's in the wall, and all along the petals are the Vaikuntha Lokas. And Radharani and Krishna are sitting in the center of the lotus. And immediately I saw that he felt so satisfied. He felt so happy, and I could see that he started imagining of whatever I described to him. And that is one experience where I felt this boy has that eagerness. He has got that samutkantha to know more about it. And then it is not all right just to go through the vast scriptures, but we need to even go deep into each aspect that we learn. So from that boy, I learned so much. So these are the kind of realizations that I get. And somebody recently asked me, "Hey, Mataji, why is it that people cry when they come to us?" So I said, "No, that's a very foolish thing. Why should they cry? You're all right." So that child told me, "Earlier we were not all right, but after the Gita sessions, we certainly became okay." I asked her how. So she said, because earlier we knew, though we could not see with our eyes, we were seeing with our mind's eyes. We can reach our room, our classroom, we can go to the loo without any problem. So, all these are being done by the mind's eye, as you told. But now we are able to see with our spiritual eyes. In the sense, we are able to understand Krishna. So we are happy about it. So that's the reason why we feel people should not cry anymore for us. So we are happy the way it's going. So these are some of the memorable experiences, Mataji, and the journey has been so adventurous that I have a lot of such experiences. But the time is limited. But I'm very grateful to you for hearing me out, and also uh, giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Hare Krishna. You have
Thankful and thankful and inspired. It's just amazing. I can just imagine the children, and they are so right. It says, "Why people cry? No, be happy, invest. Let's do something for them, empower them, help them connect to the super soul in the heart." Um, I want to again really, really thank you for sharing this incredible journey and invaluable service. Your dedication to making Srila Prabhupada's teachings accessible to those visually impaired, particularly children, is truly inspiring and exemplifies the spirit of inclusion and empowerment. Um, you're also taking care of the children, and that was the Srila Prabhupada's instruction, right? Take care of these children. You are do so with very special children. And your story also reminds us that genuine service transcends limitations and brings light to those seeking spiritual wisdom. So, once again, we deeply appreciate your time, insights, and unwavering commitment to devotional service. Hare Krishna.
all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you
All
so
those
much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.